everyone and welcome back to Mariana Mass Books. My name is Mariana and today I'm going to share with you a readathon that I'm going to participate in as a lead. I didn't know what a lead was, but I'll explain throughout the video. So today I'm going to share my bingo TBR for the readathon, and also I'm going to share my 2 official selections for the people who are doing the readathon in Discord and are following the selections of the leads for their own prompts. Again, I'm going to explain throughout the video. The readathon is called Short Story Septober, which is great because that means that it lasts throughout September and October, and as the name suggests, it's to read short story collections and or anthologies. It was created by Anitha at Anitha Gade. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, or Gade, I'm not sure. And Evie at She Was Only Evie. I will of course link her channels down below. And I found out about it through Discord. And as you know, I don't often read short story collections. I actually don't remember when was the last time that I have read a short story collection. I have read short stories here and there, but I'm not really a short story person. However, I've always wanted to try because I don't know if I'm just not a short story person or I just haven't been reading the right short stories. So when I saw this readathon announced, I thought this is a perfect opportunity because also in September it is Shorty September, which is a readathon that I'm also going to make a video for, so I'm not going to talk about it here, but I thought that Shorty September and Short Story Septober would go together perfectly, and it would give me the opportunity to participate in both, which you know that one of my favorite things ever is to combine readathons and prompts in booktube, and also to try out some short stories, some short story collections, and see if I can find an author that I really like. I have some selections here that I have high hopes for. As I said in the beginning, I'm going to make a bingo TBR because this is a readathon that has a bingo board for the prompts, so you don't have to fill out all of the prompts or even do like a bingo. You can do so if you choose, but the rules are that you have to read either a short story collection or an anthology at least throughout September and October. So if you only read one short story collection or one short story anthology throughout September and October, then you are participating in Short Story Septober, but there are a myriad of prompts and a bingo board for the people who want to take it further. I forgot to mention that you can also double up the prompts in the bingo board, and for the prompts, I usually double up prompts anyway, but that is part of the official rules. And so most of my selections from the bingo would serve for doubling up prompts. So for instance, the Short Story Horror Collection is also a translated collection. So if you're interested in any of the choices, you can look them up and you will see that they fill multiple prompts. As I also mentioned at the beginning of the video, there are leads in this readathon. What that means is that there are some people that have committed to making a video like me and to read a short story collection and an anthology, and they are going to announce their official 2 selections, meaning 1 collection and 1 anthology. Why are we doing that? Because one of the prompts in the bingo board is to read a collection or anthology from one of the selections, either of the creators of the readathon, meaning Anitha and Evie, or one of the selections of one of the leads, the people who are going to make videos like me. So in the video, I'm going to share with you my bingo TBR, which of course I'm not going to read in its entirety. You know that I think that TBR making and reading are two separate hobbies, and I love them both, and I have so much fun putting together TBRs. So I'm going to share an option for each of the bingo squares in the bingo board, and then at the end of the video I will announce what my 2 official selections are from that bingo board, and those are the ones that you can pick for your own bingo if you are doing the readathon with the bingo board, and also those are the ones that I am definitely going to read throughout September and October. Without more introduction, let's just go ahead with the video. Timestamps are below, so if you just want to skip to my selections or skip to the TBR, you can do so, but I am going to start by the bingo, and then at the end I will announce what my 2 official selections are. The first prompt is SFF Collection, meaning science fiction or fantasy. For this prompt, I'm choosing Ars Historica by Marie Brennan. Marie Brennan is the author of the Lady Trent Dragon books, and this collection I chose because it's giving me major Guy Gabriel Kay vibes. It is a collection of stories of historical fantasy. Kit Marlowe, Guy Fawkes, Ada Lovelace, kings and sailors and sainted nuns populate these 7 stories of historical fantasy by award-winning author Marie Brennan. They span the ages from the 2nd century BCE to the 19th century CE, from ancient Persia to the London of the Onyx Court. Discover the secret histories, hear the stories that have never been told until now. If that doesn't sound like a super me collection, I don't know what does. If this doesn't convince me that I can be a short story person, I don't know what will. Then we have a SFF Anthology, so science fiction fantasy anthology. And for this I chose, and this one sounds super cool too. I want to read everything on this list. Okay, so this one is These Our Monsters, the English Heritage Collection of new stories inspired by myth and legend, edited by Katherine Davey. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention. When I first saw this readathon announced, I thought, oh, this is my chance to read all those story collections that I've been meaning to read, that people always recommend. Ted Chiang, Ken Liu, all those authors. And then I realized, wait, no, all of those are always by male authors. So all of my list except for one, and that's because I own that book, is going to be either written or edited by women. So there. Anyway, so that is These Our Monsters, and this collection has a super cool concept. So basically it's a collection of stories that are inspired by heritage locations, like traditional locations in England. So they gave different authors different locations, from castles to Stonehenge to that type of location, and they gave each author one location, and each author wrote their story inspired by that location. It says, this is a new collection of stories inspired by the legends and tales that swirl through the history of 8 ancient historical sites. Sounds amazing. I want to read that one too. Then we have a horror collection, and as you know, I'm not a horror person, but I did pick some selections that I think I could read. Okay, so for the horror collection, I have The Houseguest and Other Stories by Amparo Dávila. Amparo Dávila is a Mexican author. She was born in the 20s, but she mostly wrote in the 50s and 60s, around that time. And this is a collection of her stories, and they are more like literary horror, like those of Kafka, Poe, Leonora Carrington, or Shirley Jackson. Amparo Dávila's stories are terrifying, mesmerizing, and expertly crafted. With acute physiological insight, Dávila follows her characters to the limits of desire, paranoia, insomnia, and fear. She is a writer obsessed with obsession, who makes nightmares come to life through the everyday. Loneliness sinks in easily like a razor-sharp knife. Some sort of evil lurks in every shadow. Delusion takes the form of strange and very real creatures. And then we have the prompt for a horror anthology, and for that prompt I have the coolest collection, and it's called Women's Weird Strange Stories by Women from 1890 to 1940, edited by Melissa Edmunson. And the title is pretty self-explanatory. This is more weird gothic horror fantasy, and this book I have to shout out Sarah at Eyes on Indie, because I saw this book in her channel, so go check her channel out. She has some really cool indie books, book suggestions, and honestly, like, with that cover, how can you not want to read? That's the coolest cover ever. Then we have a literary collection or anthology. And for this one I chose an anthology, and it's called Why Willows Weep, Contemporary Tales from the Woods, edited by Tracy, Chevalier, and Simon Prosser. And in this anthology, each short story is inspired by a different tree, which I thought was a super cool concept. It says a collection of contemporary tales by 19 acclaimed authors, each inspired by a different tree, and all to raise funds for the Woodland Trust. So that just sounds super cool, and there are several authors in here that I've always wanted to read. We have Alice Mead, Maggie O'Farrell, Kate Moss, Tracy Chevalier, many authors that are all in my want to read list. Then we have a classic collection or anthology, and for this one I chose The Sword of Welleran and Other Stories by Lord Dunsany. So I went for classic fantasy. This is pre-Tolkien fantasy. I think we have all, at least all of us in the fantasy world, we have heard of Lord Dunsany. I had heard of I think his most known is The King of Elfland's Daughter, which is a novel, but this is a short story collection that I had never heard about, but I found it in a bookstore and the cover is super cool, and so I picked it up and I own it, and so that's why I chose it for this prompt. But this one is also available in Project Gutenberg for free if you want to download that one. The next prompt is a translated collection or anthology, and for this one I picked a unique pick because this one is, if you read the synopsis, is called a novel, but if you read the author's note at the beginning, she calls the chapters short stories. So if the author calls her stories, I am going to consider her book a short story collection. I don't know if this could be called like a interconnected short stories, maybe that's what it would be called. And it is Trafagar by Angélica Gorodischer. Angélica Gorodischer is a classic Argentinian fantasy writer. She is kind of like the Ursula K. Le Guin of Argentina, and I don't know if I'm just saying this because her first novel translated to English, which could also be kind of considered short stories, was translated by Ursula K. Le Guin. So I don't know if I'm just saying that because of that, but she is like a well-respected Latin American fantasy writer, and she is from Argentina. This collection is originally written in Spanish, and you can read it translated. And this collection is about an intergalactic sales traveler. That sounds super funny. I'm just going to read you a small tidbit from the synopsis because I think it paints the tone of the story. And it says, "Don't rush Trafalgar Medrano when he starts telling you about his latest intergalactic sales trip. He likes to stretch things out over precisely 7 coffees." And so all of the stories are set in this old school bar where Trafagar Medrano, the intergalactic salesman, tells you tales of his intergalactic travels. And then finally, this is a final prompt. Promise, I've been talking for a long time. And this is an indie or self-published collection or anthology. So I have two options for this because the prompt has many different variants. So I have a self-published anthology and a indie collection. So the anthology that is self-published is The Alchemy of Sorrow, a fantasy and sci-fi anthology of grief and hope, edited by Sarah Chorn and Virginia McLean. And this one is about grief explored through fantasy. And I'm just going to read you the list of authors because there are several known indie authors in here. And so it features stories from M.L. Wang, K.S. Viloso, Intisar Kanani, Sonia M. Black, Angela Board, Levi Jacobs, Crystal Matar, Virginia McLean, Quenby Olson, Carol A. Park, Madeline Rogers, Rachel Emma Shaw, and Clayton Snyder. And the indie collection that I have for you is called Stray Bats by Margot Lanagan, illustrated by Kathleen Jennings, and this one is published, I believe, by Small Beer Press, which is a press that I also discovered through Sarah's channel at Eyes on Indie. And this one sounds super cool. So they are short stories, and every story is inspired by a poem written by an Australian women poet. How cool and specific does that sound? It has a note that says that if anyone is curious, it does have a list of the poems and authors in which these stories are inspired. So those are all of my picks for the bingo. As I said, I'm not going to read everything. So my two picks, the two that I'm going to read from beginning to end. Firstly, Ars Historica by Marie Brennan. If you didn't see that one coming, then you haven't been around my channel much. Okay, I had a bit of a mix-up with my second pick, and so I am refilming this, and so you will excuse the poor lighting and everything. But my second official pick, which is for an anthology, is Why Willows Weep, edited by Tracy Chevalier and Simon Prosser. So my two picks would be Ars Historica by Marie Brennan and Why Willows Weep, edited by Tracy Chevalier and Simon Prosser. Yes, so phew, that will be it for this video. Thank you so much to Evie and Anitha for starting this readathon. It sounds super fun, and also thank you for choosing 2 months, September and October. September sounds perfect. And yeah, stay tuned for an upcoming Shorty September TBR video and 2, not 1, 2 book haul videos upcoming. Please tell me in the comments if you're participating in a Short Story September and what books you are going to read. I would love to hear. And yeah, I will see you soonish in another bookish video, and in the meantime I wish you happy reading.